okay, we got to do an update on the car situation, because in my previous video, which I'll tag down below, I'm talking about a scam that is happening in California where people are interested buyers in your resale car, usually from Facebook Marketplace. They will meet you to look at the vehicle, and then they will dump motor oil all over the front of your vehicle, over the engine and in the exhaust pipe, to make it look like your engine blew during that initial look at the car, and then they offer you far less than what is worth. And my husband, unfortunately, yesterday took the money. And as I stated in my previous video, my husband is not a sucker. He is not somebody that falls for this kind of stuff. He is actually very astute, perceptive. Thank you, babe, for giving me that burp about yourself. He is not a sucker, but he fell for it because it's a fairly new scam. And people just go to, this guy had this whole ruse that he really thought through and has obviously done before and perfected. So what we did yesterday, just as an update part 2 to this story, is we had a certain amount of cash in our hand that this man had paid us for the car. It was well below the market value of the vehicle. And we figured out it was a ruse. How did we figure out it was a ruse? We asked ChatGPT. If you are not using ChatGPT in your daily life, what are you even doing? It will completely change and uplevel your life. We asked ChatGPT, is this a scam that even happens where people dump motor oil on the engine to try to get a lower asking price for a used vehicle? And absolutely, ChatGPT confirmed it quickly and also said that there were a couple links to news stories on this very issue. We watched the news stories and it was almost identical to what had happened to my husband. So with that in our knowledge, my husband reached back out to him and said, I know this was a con. I want my car back. This man had the title. My husband had signed the title over to him. Also, I might add that before we reached out to the man, we called the police department and we told them what had happened. And they told us there's nothing we can do. You signed the title over to this man. You conceivably sold him your car. There's nothing we can do. It's not a stolen vehicle. And I said, even if he vandalized the car, isn't that a crime? And he said, you'll have to go after him in civil court for that. That's not something the police department will take care of. However, we reached out to this man and we told this dude who performed this elaborate scheme to steal our car effectively that we knew it was a ruse, and my husband said, I want the car back. So meet me tonight back in the parking lot of the bank where we did the initial transaction, and give me my car back. I'll give you all the money back, no questions asked, but I want my car back. This man gave all the excuses in the book as to why he could not meet my husband. He couldn't drive the car because, first of all, the engine blew. So he had to tow it back to his house with a rope tied to another vehicle. And he towed it back to his house, which happened to be 6 miles from the bank. But, he couldn't even drive it because the engine at this point was on fire, according to this man. So my husband went down to the credit union anyway and waited for him. He didn't come. My husband got home that night really late and we had the worst night of our lives. We were so stressed because effectively we knew that the police couldn't do anything about it. He had the title and our vehicle, and so he owned it. And at this point, and there was nothing we could do to get it back. We were just supposed to accept the scheme. And so we asked ChatGPT what our recourse was. ChatGPT gave us a long, detailed, itemized report back as to what our recourse was in this situation, which is to pursue him in civil court, basically go after him for the difference in what the car is worth and what he paid us, as well as any vandalism. You can charge him for pouring oil all over the motor and all over the exhaust pipe. You can charge him the damages for that, for vandalism. So we're going to do that. You can also seek pain and suffering as a general damage on top of that. So he was going to owe us a lot more when we took him to court. Luckily, we had his name and address. We don't know if it was real. It seemed odd. It didn't seem real, but it was the only information that we had. ChatGPT also told us that we could file vandalism charges if we could get video of this man doing this, because what they do is they have you go to the back of the car to show them something. Usually it's under the hood, it's under the back of the car where the spare tire is, which he exactly did with my husband. And when you're back there with your head kind of down looking for what he's asked you for, he will dump motor oil in the front of the vehicle. And when you're in the front of the vehicle, he will dump it in the pipe as well. Not only that, while my husband wasn't at the bank, he could have had a friend or an accomplice. Many times these schemes have multiple people involved. They could have poured oil in through the cracks in the hood and on the tailpipe, which will all make your engine smoke. So if we had video of this, we could send it to the police, and then they could pursue charges, criminal charges, and it would void out the contract of the original purchase price sale of the car pursuant to California law. Basically, if you commit a crime or a fraud, if you commit a fraud on somebody while you're making a transaction, that makes the transaction null and void. So we knew that. And we also knew that we could claim with our insurance company. We could make a claim with our insurance company for vandalism if we could get the vehicle back, or we could show some sort of video of him doing it, and they would pay us something for vandalization of the car before the purchase price, and then they could look to him for subrogation. So they would then go after this man who perpetrated the fraud to pay them back for what they paid us. So we had ChatGPT write us a letter to this man stating all of these things. We also had ChatGPT create a demand letter, which, if you don't know what a demand letter is, that's a letter where you state out what you think happened. You list all the things you're going to do if the car is not returned or you are not made right. And then you give them a date deadline. You give them a date and a time, a deadline to reply. And if they don't reply or do what you've asked in that amount of time, you will then do all the things you state in your letter. ChatGPT wrote us a demand letter. We texted it to the man, and his first question to us when we did that was, well, it looks like the Kelley Blue Book value on this car is this much. There's a difference between what I paid you for it and what the Kelley Blue Book is. It's this much, correct? So we looked at that as an admission of guilt, because at that point he was asking how he was going to make restitution. So he did. He actually ended up going to our credit union, depositing the money in our account, and making us whole. We did not ever get video. We tried to get video. There were video cameras on the outside of the building, but they were... So at first he was like, well, what's your Zelle? And we looked up, we asked ChatGPT, our trusted friend and trusted advisor and all this, is there anything that people can do to scam you via Zelle? Well, yeah, you can, I guess, pay somebody with another person's account, and then once that's verified by the bank, it's too late and they're gone and nobody made any payment to you. So knowing that, we said, no, you need to deposit it in our bank. You need to go down to the bank. You know where it is now because we met him there to make the initial transaction. Go down to the bank and put this much money in our account. And so we gave him 24 hours to do that. Again, you always want to give people a demand and give them a specific time and date that this demand must be met for this offer to be valid. So much to our surprise, about an hour later, we got notified by our bank that he had made a deposit. So all is well. We got the full value of the vehicle. It was a traumatic and harrowing experience, and I think more than anything, it showed me that people are down and out, and it does not justify their actions or behaviors, but people are getting really clever. They are building out these ruses to screw us over. We have to be super vigilant as consumers, and not to mention, this man played on my husband's emotional capabilities. He tried to act like he was his friend, like he was doing him a favor. He tried to act like this nice, trustworthy guy. That was so insidious. While he was sitting there scamming my husband, out of thousands of dollars, he was pretending to be his friend. It's absolutely disgusting. And not only that, my husband knew the entire time it was happening that something was wrong. He even knew on his way home, even though conceivably he could have thought, well, good thing I got what I got for my car. The whole engine blew. That took it off my hands. That was a big favor for that this guy did for me. He knew in his heart of hearts that he was being scammed. So listen to your gut. It will always tell you, and never doubt it. Thanks everyone for being here for this journey, and we're just so glad that it worked out. And be careful out there, you guys, because there are scammers right and left. Keep yourself safe. Listen to your gut. If it sounds too good to be true, it absolutely is.